Okay. Sure, we're all good. Cool. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Looks like all the levels are good. Like this, it's a goth. It's a goth sweater. No, not really. It's a beat up hoodie. Unpin that. Okay. Unpin my message. It's a beat up hoodie that I've had for years. It's ripped in. I'm just cheap, so I don't buy a new one. But I just say like it's goth. Okay, getting set up here. All right. Hello, welcome. This is the Black Ponder. Yes, we are doing a live stream. The Black Ponder is a YouTube philosophy channel. We do philosophy videos on philosophical text. We do YouTube videos on philosophical texts. I don't know. My mind is all over the place today. I got my COVID vaccine, whatever the booster or whatever it is. I also got my flu shot. And I'm still kind of a little fuzzy. My reaction to those vaccinations have always been not the best. But, it's better than actually having the full-blown illness. So, I'll take it. But sometimes I get a little hazy in the mind when I take it. But, I took the vaccine yesterday, but the effect is now just starting today. But I think it's wearing down, so I think we're good. So forgive me if I'm a little hazy. But yeah, so Black Ponder. My name is Neil Trotter. I'm the host. We do videos on philosophical texts here on this channel, in case you're new. But we also sometimes do live streams where we have philosophical discussions. And today's topic is the Goth culture. You know, also people will say Goth subculture. But you know, Goth culture. What is that? What is going on with that? Like, what is the philosophy of that type of culture? That's what we got to talk about today. I think it'll be kind of pretty fun. Let me see. I'm just trying to check here. And I thought it would be really good if, for the Halloween theme, I always got to double check because my internet is not the best. It's been raining off and on. That's why I want to do it outside where I can get all spooky and shit, but it's raining outside. That's not going to do well for my equipment. So yeah, we're going to have to stay inside. But anyway, yeah, Goth culture. What is it? You know, I guess I'll begin with my experience with the culture, because recently I've kind of gotten more into the community because I go to these get-togethers, these goth nights, which are like these dances, and they're a lot of fun, and it kind of got me reacquainted with the culture. So that's cool. Hello. Wife just walked in. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you know, I really was, you know, felt really welcomed. I thought it was, you know, they really opened their arms as a community to me, because it is kind of a community, or at least like that. The area where I'm in, there's like a community focus, and that's pretty cool. And you wouldn't think that with the whole idea of goth, right? You would think like, oh, it's a community, and it's not like you know, you think like, oh, you know, standoffish, dark, macabre. You know, they're not trying to be involved with anybody, but actually they're, you know, it's really fun, and it's, you know, they're very welcoming and open. Yeah. So yeah, I just like to talk about that a little bit. So you know, as growing up, you know, when I was growing up as a little kid, I knew like kids who were like, they considered themselves goth kids. You know, they were into the you know, they wore all black, right? The stereotype. But they were like into horror movies, and not just horror movies, like dark movies, like Tim Burton films and things like that. And so I've always known people to identify as goth. I myself don't really identify as such, but I think it's very interesting and fun, and you know, kind of a nice culture, or you know, subculture, or just, you know, a nice aesthetic, a nice scene. Yeah, I've always known people who, you know, and I have friends to this day, thanks to like Facebook, right? One of the things about Facebook is that you get, you know, people you've known like in high school or like, you know, even earlier, you get reacquainted with them through Facebook. So I know a lot of like my early school friends. I've reacquainted with them on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, you still into that goth stuff, huh? Like, yeah, still into that. Didn't grow out of it. So we'll talk about that. You know, I think it's pretty fun. Let me check it out here. Cool. Okay, so I think I've always also kind of been drawn to like darker themes, or like Uh, you know, I'm not really a fan of the horror genre per se. But those type of movies have always intrigued me. But goth culture is more than that, right? It's kind of like an embracing of. I don't want to use the word dark. I mean, that's a word to describe it, but kind of the more, things related to death, not destruction, right? But death and, I guess you would use the word darkness, or, the unsightly, right? And kind of an embracing of like, well, that's part of life too. That's part of life too, and you might as well have fun with it, right? Don't want to avoid it because it's all part of life. And I guess because some people they do avoid it, and not like in a negative way. Some people that's just not their thing. They're like, hey, you know what? I'm really into the give me things that are vibrant, happy things. I want to see entertainment where. I'm not really into, people are like, I'm not really into the horror, not into gore, not into the violence. And so it's like more of a preference and what caters to your personality. So that's the one thing we want to distinguish right there, right? But yeah, I think I've always kind of been drawn to that. Not so much so that I can call myself like, yeah, I'm definitely a goth person, but I can identify, which is kind of why I do have fun at those events. But let me show you something. I got a few books, got a few props. Yeah, I recently got this. Let's see if the Blair. Let's see, the Glare, the Blair Witch Project. Let's see if I can get a title page that doesn't have that glare. No, I can't. Well, this, not really. Well, scary stories to tell in the dark. Let me see if maybe I can use this again. I'm trying to angle it so, yeah, that's good. This is a very popular. There's 3 books in this series. This is a children's story, a children's book series. What was it called? It was called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think it's like more scary stories to tell in the dark. And I think the other was like even more scary stories to tell in the dark or something like that. And it was quite, it was a pretty popular book franchise in the 80s and the 90s, and I was just drawn to this book, and it was quite popular. The stories were very good, but really it was the art. Let me show you some of the art. This is children's stories. First of all, you got to check. Let me show you some crazy stuff. Show you something you're like, what the hell? I guess it's supposed to be a scarecrow. Ah! I read this when I was little, because these are children's stories. Look at this. The big toe. These are children's stories. It is a detached toe that this kid finds. Look at this art. It's crazy. Let me show you some really nasty ones. It's Halloween, baby. A detached head. What's that? Meatai Dodie Walker. That's the name of the story. Let me see some more. These are really some of my favorites. This isn't my favorite, but look at this. Yeah, just crazy. This is an anthology collection. Let's see. There you go. It has 3 books to chill your bone, 3 in 1. I just bought it because I'm like, I'm gonna buy this because I remember it being it was so fun. Yeah, I remember reading, and some of the pictures is weird. Look, is a babysitter, I think, the babysitter, but the the illustration is just kind of off. It's kind of off-putting. Like the baby has his head is like a little too big. The or like it's a little strange, but let me show you some real crazy ones. I mean, here's one. I mean, it's just nasty. The ghost with the bloody fingers. Right. He's a kid's toy. Let me show you some weird ones. I mean, it just keeps going. There's so many illustrations here. Oh. I very much enjoyed these book series. Yeah, I think it was the third one that was really. Then it just starts getting weird and very abstract. Like look at this. It's like some Twilight. It's like Outer Limits type of stuff. The voice. This is the stuff that's really weird. Right. Oh, look at this. See that this I think this is the third book. Oh, Susanna. That's just scary as fuck. Decent children's books. Well, I'm trying to find my favorite one. This is kind of crazy too. A ghost in the mirror. I mean, that's like a normal. I mean, that's some disturbing imagery right there. But it's not like, you know, it's disturbing, but it's intriguing. It's not like traumatizing disturbing. No, this is Scary Stories 3. Look at this. I mean, that's just crazy. So now it starts getting really weird. I think that's the book 3. I think as the book series got even more popular, the artist was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go all out now." I don't even know what the hell that is. What is that? I don't know, but I'm just drawn to it. Let me see. Find some good ones. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna keep showing you stuff because I think this was the start of it all for me. Being like, yeah, I'm a little different. Boo man. I'm a little different because I like this. The footsteps. It's like footsteps. It's the ceiling. You know. I mean, wow, dude. Like, really? Harold. It's a scarecrow, but what the hell kind of scarecrow? It's a scarecrow come to life? I mean... I just drawn to, and you know, it's crazy. The wolf girl. And as a little kid, I used to look at these. They used to have them in school, and I check them out at the school library. Oh, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one. It's called the story is a dream. The dream. Look at this person. I mean, could you imagine? Like you dream, and you know maybe you in the bed, you open your eyes, you see that looking back at you. Oh wait a minute. Excuse me. I used to stare at that. I just was like, that's some scary ass shit, but it's intriguing. There's another one. Nasty ass. You know, another dude. Excuse me. No thanks. What is going on? Just gets kind of weird. The trouble. And, you know, it starts getting all Twilight Zone, Outer Limits. I think I'll stop here. I mean, it gets very creative. What in the heck? Hey, Jeremy. It's him. Disturbing. Look at this. A children's story. And I'm just showing you I mean, I'm not even showing you all of them. There's so much more pictures. There's so much more. There's so much more. I'm just showing you like a little bit. What the hell is it? What the hell is it? So yeah. What's the book you are holding? I'm reading Rebecca and it's Gothic. Okay. So I'm holding this book. It's a book. It's a collection of 3 books, scary stories to tell in the dark. 3 books to chill your bones. I got the one book that collects all 3 of them. They're children's books. Scary story children's book. They were very popular in like the 1980s and the 1990s. Very popular. If you grew up during that time, you'd probably encounter these books. Now, I was showing you all these scary images. So the images were considered so scary that they re-released the book and they had like more tame images, which got a huge backlash. You know, fans of the books were like, "Oh hell no, we don't like that." So they actually re-released it again with the original art, which is what I showed you. And I'm just showing you that because I'm like 9, maybe 9 years old. You know, I'm reading this. And the stories are very good too, but the stories are good. But it's the art that really did it for me. And I'd be so intrigued by those images. I would just stare at them. I don't know what it was about it. It just captivated me. It was disturbing, but it was disturbing in an intriguing way. And it was like, you know, and some of them were kind of funny. Some of them were kind of silly, like that one of them. Like a few of them. Like that big ass skeleton with the head. The big ass head. Let me see if I can find it. I already showed it. Oh, let me show you this one. I mean, I could keep going. Look at it. Some of the images are just weird. They're just weird. Right? And you can't help but just keep looking at them. I just passed one I gotta show you. These are children's stories, remember? So I'm not gonna show you anything that's like too disturbing, but this is a little scary. It's Halloween. Look. Oh no, the red spot. Look at this lady. What happened to her face? You gotta read it to find out. Ooh. Yeah, and some of them were just funny. Like this guy in the book is like, what is going on here? Yeah, I would just look at these, and I knew, like, yeah, this is the one that's funny, because it's like this, this creature, and I guess it's some guy saw him. He's like, "What?" He's running away. He's like, "I peekaboo, I see." It's disturbing, but it's funny. It's interesting. It's like off-putting. It's like it's got off kilter. It's like it fucks with your mind. It really does. Jito Ito give me that same vibe. Cool. That's what Cody's bringing it. And then Jeremy says, do you know whatever happened to Baby Jane, the original novel, gothic and horrifying without gore? No, I don't know about that. I don't really know much about Even though I'm doing a video about the philosophy of Goth. I think I could do that, but I haven't read many Gothic. I mean, I don't know about that. Now I don't think about it. Because I have read like Edgar Allan Poe. Is that Gothic? And, you know, those kinds of old school Frankenstein. Is that Gothic? I think it is, right? I read like all those old Dracula. So I haven't read that one. I love Gothic stories for being scary without violence. Right, but so there's like Gothic horror, which is like what you're talking about. But then there's like Goth culture, which is like this whole thing that actually does include gore and violence, right? So, you know, Goth culture is part of that embracing of it. Yeah, so I knew I was, you know, reading these stories, and I loved the book. It was like one of my favorite books. This book, I still own it as an adult. I just bought like the anthology collection because I'm like, I gotta get this book because I remember as a little kid. But you know, many kids aren't like obsessed with those images like I was. So I knew I was like, you know, I'm kind of attracted to this kind of aesthetic, I would say. And then you're saying the novel is adapted into a classic Hollywood movie, though. Oh, excuse me. That's cool. So yeah. So I always was attracted to dark movies. I always kind of had an interest. I wouldn't say like I said before, I'm not like a horror fan, but horror movies, particularly the classic ones, really do intrigue me. And so I go to these monthly dance parties, basically. They're called like Goth nights. And you know, people are dancing, but they're like, you know, and it's dark. Like it's like people are dancing like the opening scene in Blade Runner. They're actually not like that because, well, they sort of are. Well, did I say the opening scene in Blade Runner? I meant the opening scene in Blade, right? That movie with Wesley Snipes. But people are dancing more like they're in like a trance or something. I usually just sit because what they do is that they project clips of horror movies onto the screen with a LCD projector. They project it on the wall, and it's huge. So I just, you know, I'm in with my drink. I usually get like you know, go to a bar, get a drink, and I just chill on the couch or wherever, because they got like, it's a lounge. It's the place where they do it. It's called the Black Lounge. So there's like couches and stuff. And I sit there and I just like, yeah, just fixated on those, you know, the clips of the horror images while they're playing like the what you know, what kind of music they play. A lot of times it's like remixes. It's like well, how would I describe it? I want to use the word demonic. It's like hardcore rave sometimes, but not all the time. Sometimes it's just like classic 80s songs that they play, like a Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence. Or yeah, that's what that song is called. Or but sometimes they'll even play like Blondie, but they'll remix it, make it like sound darker. And they'll just play they'll be playing clips like from movies like Chucky or like Freddy Krueger, Friday the 13th, or Halloween, or you know, those old school movies, those old school horror, Leprechaun, like all those cheesy ass 80s and 90s, or 80s particularly, like those movies, those slasher horror films. But not even just slash. Sometimes like Hellraiser, with the guy that has all the pins in his head and shit. They'll just play these clips. And, yeah, that kind of brings me back to when I was a kid, and I was like intrigued by those movies, because they were just kind of over the top. They were kind of like that video game Mortal Kombat, where, you know, it's kind of like over the top violence, but it's so like satirical, or it's kind of like almost like a parody. So it's hard, you don't really get scared of those movies unless some people do get scared of those movies. But I never did, because I always kind of took them as a satire, because they were like really over the top, and sometimes they get like absurdist, which is kind of funny. That's why I kind of like those movies. Nowadays, like now, a lot of horror movies today, they're actually trying to traumatize you, which is like not really a thing I feel that they were trying to do in the 80s. They were just trying to like be over the top with the violence and the gore in like kind of a silly way. Yeah. So when I'm talking about goth culture, I'm talking about the 20th century, like goth culture, which came from like goth music, which was I think started in like the 60s, well maybe the 70s, right, in Europe, right, and then it transferred over here to America, where you often see people wearing black and they're playing like Sonic Youth, like all those like new wave bands from the 80s, Billy Joel and stuff like that. Billy Joel, maybe not. I'm sorry, not Billy Joel. What's the other guy? Well, I think, Billy Joel, and there's the other few people. Those new wave bands, right? But it's expanded to a lot more than that now, because there's still goth culture, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, although like not traditional gothic horror, but a lot of that is part of goth culture today. A lot of aesthetic is part of it, or I'm not talking about like American Gothic with the guy that's carrying a pitchfork with his wife in front of like a like a house or something. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about modern goth culture. But let me show you some more along those lines, right? Of like the American Gothic, right? With the picture. So there's this book right here. Oh, okay. The Art of Andrew Wyeth. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's it's very gothic. This is gonna be difficult because this is clear. Let me see if I can find some good images here. But it's more like gothic about what you're talking about, right? Let me see if I can find the most famous image that he did. I'm just trying to find it. I should have bookmarked it, but I forgot. Oh well. Let's see. Oh yeah, so this is. Oh yeah, I did bookmark it. See, I'm smart. This is the most famous image that the guy, this Andrew Wyeth, has done. And this is kind of like, this is part of the goth culture, I think. Now, see, this is how expansive gothic culture is, because this is part of it. Yeah, and so it's this woman, Andrew Wyeth knew this woman who she couldn't walk, right? She would just walk around with her hands everywhere. Now this actually, so he did this image of her here, but this actually, she didn't really do this in real life. She wasn't like walking on the field to the house, but it was inspired by this woman who he actually knew that did not have use of legs, and she would just crawl around everywhere, and so it's kind of it's a famous image. What is let's see the name of it. Oh, Christina's World. You can Google it. Famous image, kind of gothic, and so this is the kind of off-putting, kind of, it's scary, but not in a horrifying way. It's scary because like, what's going on here? Like, she's crawling in the field, and she's like, she has to crawl all the way to the house. Like, what's going on here? And it's kind of sad in a way too. So in that way, it's kind of like it's beautiful, but in a disturbing way. It's disturbingly beautiful. That's kind of like Goth. And then you're saying, Jeremy Bornos, do you think most scary movies are silly? Not nowadays, no. Well, no. I mean, there's some scary movies that are really like, wow, this is fucked up shit. Right. But a lot of scary movies are silly. A lot are not. I tend to gravitate toward the scary movies that are silly. And I'm not really so much of a fan of the horror movies that like aren't, right? Which some people who are fans of horror, they like that the movies that actually traumatize them in real. But I'm not trying to get traumatized by watching media. But that's the thing. It's beautiful that Goth explores the past of characters. Yeah, so it's expansive. I'll show you some other images, but this is another person. The art drew me too. I actually got this book because they had an exhibit randomly, like of him at a museum when I moved here to Memphis, Tennessee. They just had an exhibit at a museum, and I was like, oh, and it's funny because I just went to the museum. I was checking out the art pieces. I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize this stuff. Because he's kind of, his art is relatively, it's famous, so you would see it in places. I was always drawn to it. Let me show you some other stuff. He also just draws just normal shit, but he's got this aesthetic. I mean, look at that bird. I mean, this is semi-walking, but he's got this kind of like aesthetic. I would say it's a gothic aesthetic. Maybe the color tone, the tones, where you're kind of, it's not happy. You don't feel like happy, but it's beautiful. Let me see some other stuff. Let me see if I get some landscape stuff. Oh, this is nice. That's a gothic image, I would argue. Gotta have that drapey, the drapes with the windows. Alright. Let's see if I can find out. I'm looking for more drapes because those are. No, not that one. Maybe. Well, I mean, here's some stuff right here. It's just butchering. Like the meat is being hung. And it's kind of disturbing, right? But it's also like normal because people eat meat. But it's kind of like showing the disturbing aspect of that, but in a very normalized way. I mean, look at this. That's corn. It's just corn hung on strings, on lines, and there's a window that like half of the frame is like not there. What was it? I guess they used to hang the corn out to dry. I don't know, just like, not everybody. Probably some people think that's boring, but I'm just drawn to it because of its. I'm just drawn to it. That's the same person, Christina's World. Yeah. This is that same person that the author drew the subject. This woman she lost the ability to walk, so she just crawls everywhere, and she's just chilling right there. And she's totally accepted that part of her life. You know, they talk about it in the book, and she just crawls, and she's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing nowadays. I'm just doing me." But in a way, you know, it's showing her beauty, but it's also kind of sad. That's gothic, isn't it? Beautiful but sad and a little like horrifying in a way. What's this? Garrett's room. You know, he's just laying in bed, but he don't look. Is something wrong with him? Is he like? but it's also drawn very well. Excellent, like realistic kind of art. Beautiful. And there was nothing wrong with him. That's just how he. That's just how he lay. Right? Well, you look at this. This is Happy Halloween. There's a pumpkin. But you know, the pumpkin is drawn. You know, there's all this shadow. You know, it's not a happy pumpkin. Pumpkin looks kind of low. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why I just stopped here. This is Nicholas. That's what this is called. Just a boy. But even that's just like, it's drawn. He's got a kind of sadness or melancholy to him. Even though he's just chilling. Right? He's able to capture that. Also, Nicholas, that's my I have a twin brother, his name is Nicholas. So, I don't know. I mean, he looks nothing like that, but that's funny. But yeah, so that's part of goth aesthetic too. And then, does goth explore tragedy? Is what Cody asks. You know, I think goth culture it embraces tragedy as like a part of life, right? And I think that's one of the aspects of goth culture, right? It embraces the sad or difficult things about life and kind of like celebrates it, but in a way that's not like sensationalized, you know. That's what's cool. They're not sensationalizing it, but it's still being celebrated, right? It's just accepting it. Not only is it these tragedy or horror or you know, gore. Not only are these things accepted, but they're appreciated as aspects of life, right? You know, to me, like now we're starting to get to the philosophy of goth culture. I'll show you some more, and yeah, I just picked some books because I wanted to expand what it doesn't mean to be. What is goth culture? You know, it's more than just like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, right? Or Dracula, or like you know, new wave music, or like people wearing black. And then Pagan Tree says, "What's up? Hey, what's up, Pagan Tree?" Okay, so here's the other book. I think this is kind of gothic too. I'm into photography, if you didn't know. And this is Sally Mann. Sally Mann is one of the great photographers. But she takes photographies of dark themes. But so she does take images of dark themes. But she also takes images of regular, everyday occurrences, but they are tragic or like they're off-putting. That's kind exactly what goth is, right? I'll show you some examples. See, I mean, you may have heard of Sally Mange, quite popular photographer. But if you heard, you know. So she's famous for taking pictures of her kids. But the pictures she takes of her kids are just kind of, I would say, gothic. Look at this. I mean, this is like, okay, first of all, I need to take the sleeve off because that's annoying. Yeah, now I can actually hold it. Right. This is her daughter. And this book is old. Oh, this is book. So her daughter's grown. Oh, 1989. So, this is the daughter in 1989. She's a grown woman now. But, it's kind of it's not happy, right? It's kind of like dark. Now, I'm not talking about the colors. I'm talking about the mood. Here's one. Is there another daughter? It's her daughter, but she has a swollen eye. What's going on? I think she's having an allergic reaction or something. Like, it's not like that big of a deal. Right? But it looks like you're just like, what's going on? I go, what? It's gothic. It's just like, oh, I got swollen eye. It's an allergic reaction. I when I was young, I had those too. Because I have like allergies and shit. But it's something about that image. About famous, she's from the country, right? I can't show some of these images because it's her kids naked. She's famous for that, taking pictures of her kids naked, which I don't. I would rather not have this live stream get taken down. But even like, it's kind of weird and a little disturbing. I'm trying to see like the most famous one though. But the kids would just be out like nude because it's the South and it's the 80s, so like they don't give a damn. They just chilling naked. But let me see if I can find some really cool images. Oh, here's one where this is safe. Look at this. A dress. But, you can see the tones. It's the same kind of color scheme as the Andrew Wyatt stuff. It's black and white, grayscale. But it's got that gothic feel to it. Where's the one where they're smoking cigarettes? Okay, I can show this. This is safe. What is going on? So that's her daughter. What's happening? Is she hurt? No, that's just hay. Those aren't scars. That's just hay. But it kind of looks like scars, right? It's just like flayed out like that. It's kind of gothic. It's a little disturbing. You're like, what's going on here? But it's just like a normal thing. She's just rolling in the hay. But, the image is like, I don't know, man. Wait, do I see... Oh, there's a good one. I guess it's a deer hunter. Uh-oh. You saw a little peek. You see a little peek on the right side? That's some of those images I can't show. I'll get the live stream taken down. But that's, this right here. It's a little disturbing. Uh-oh. Hold on. No. I mean, you can just buy the book. This is a classic book. I'll show you it. It's called, It's called An Immediate Family. It's not even, you probably just buy it on Amazon. It's like a photography classic. Sorry about the ring light. If you're interested. Classic book. It's like considered one of those art masterpieces of photography. Not the, some people don't like the way she exposes her kids like that. So, I don't know, you might have opinions about that. But, they're all cool about it nowadays, so. Look at that. She got a cigarette. Is that, I'm pretty sure it's not a real cigarette. Or if she's holding it, she's not actually smoking it. But there's another one. Let's see here. That's like, I want to show this, but we're gonna say no to that. We're gonna say no to that. 'Cause that's a little risque. Oh, wait, here it is. I think this is her greatest image, or like considered her best image. Let me see if I can get it. Oh, let me see if I can. Yeah, there you go. That's her daughter, just trying to like play around like she's actually smoked. She's not. And then the son is like on stilts, and the other daughter. They're trying to be like grown-ups, but they're kids. And it's kind of interesting. And you got the gothic the color scheme. And it's kind of, so there was somebody mentioned about, does Gothic deal with tragedy? Does Goth explore tragedy? Yeah, because one of the tragedies is growing up. That's a tragedy. You gotta grow up, and then you become an adult. Then you got real responsibilities, and a lot of what made you cool as a kid is like cast aside and rejected. But the tragedy is, as you're a kid, you don't appreciate those things, like that image. Like you want to like grow up and smoke and do all these adult things. Then you actually do those things, and it's like, okay, this wasn't that good. Can I be a kid again? But it's too late. You're grown now, right? So that photograph kind of encapsulates a lot of those kinds of themes. And yeah, so I think I would argue like that. To me, like that's a Gothic image. That's a Gothic image. I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. Let me see. Some of these images are really good, but I won't show them because I don't, YouTube won't like, the algorithm won't like. I'll just show that one more time. This is, to me, like that's a really good. And then here's another one where she's just, that's Gothic too. But yeah, I mean, to me, like that's a great photograph. It's awesome photography. I mean, technically it's good too, with the whole like triangle thing, the rule of thirds, if you're into photography or like graphic design. And like there's the foreground, the middle ground, and then the background with the kid on the stilts. I'm like, which finger is which? Okay. The stilts. It's like 3 fields of depth in this image. I mean, you could just talk. You could talk a while about that. But yeah, that's a great book. I think it's Gothic. So this, when we're talking about Gothic, we're talking about like a lot of things. This is the author, but this is her when she's young. She's got like gray hair now. She's old. But that's her as a young person. Okay, so I'll put the sleeve back so I don't lose it. And I'll show you one more book that I got. That's kind of more in the horror realm. But again, it's like, I think I have enough, but I think I'll just leave it with this one last book. Another person I enjoy, Alfred Kubin. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying the last name right. But look at this. Disturbing, right? What's going on? This is a person, an artist, who just made a career out of drawing really disturbing pieces of art. But again, they're quite Gothic. Let me see if I can. What? Yeah, some of these I definitely can't show, but a lot of these I can. I'm trying to find a picture that kind of talks about Goth. I'm trying to find like, because that was mentioned like Gothic novels kind of scare you without horror, but some Gothic media is very gory, right? I guess this is not that gory, but it's like a little gory. Look at that dismembered person. Lady is cutting them up. And on the other side is a guy riding a horsey. That's Goth for you. That kind of juxtaposition. Yeah, so this author experienced a lot of disturbing things in life, and that's reflected a lot in his art. I mean, come on, like, you kidding me? Look at this. Look at, there we go. I mean, look at that. Isn't that like fucking disturbing? I don't know. I'm just drawn to it. Show you a few more. This is kind of disturbing take on that, but not too disturbing, but a little bit. If you like really think about like what's happening here, the god of wine and pleasure. I forgot his name. Did they say? Oh, faun and nymph. Oh, okay, that's what it's called. Faun and nymph. Right? You know, you see those Greek images or those, you know, those classical paintings of that kind of imagery, but then you see this and it's like, oh, okay, well, that nymph that looks like she's not really happy about the situation. so it's like a little darker aspect to that. Then you got just crazy shit like this, right? You didn't think I had this side of me, did you? Oh yeah, I'm into the gothic. I'm into the gothic horror. And is this like classic horror? I don't think so. Just trying to see if I can show you some other stuff. Or have I made my point? Well, that's funny. And some of the things are just weird. Just like when we were talking about this children's story. That's a seal. Or like a sea lion or something. But it's on top of like human skeletons. Power. That's what the image is called. Okay. So that's just this is another artist. I enjoy their work, and I guess I really can't say that. It's very disturbing, but I do enjoy their work. As disturbing as it is, look at this weird ass shit. Oh my god. It's just so weird in an off-putting way. Danger. That's what the image is called. I'll show you Happy Halloween again. Happy Halloween! Ha ha ha. That's a monster that's about to destroy that ship. You know, because it's Halloween theme, baby. The horror, that's what that image is called. And then you just start getting into just weird stuff. Check it out. I mean, that's just abstract. Yeah. Abstract, just, you know, abstract, but, you know, what's it called? The saddle shell. Abstract, but a little disturbing. Kind of off-putting. But yeah, I would say, is this? I would say this is part of the gothic aesthetic. And you might say, well, what do you mean? How does that relate to? Because like they got that famous image, as everybody knows, with the American Gothic, with the husband and wife, and the guy's holding a pitch. Is it a pitchfork, or is it, I think it's like the 3-prong farm tool. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Like, what does that have to do? Because they're both kind of they share a similar color scheme, first of all, and they're also a bit it's a bit off-putting. You know what I mean? You see that image and you're just like, huh, there's something off. So, I would say, to conclude, like, goth culture is kind of the embracing of, like, the off-putting, right? Or the, it's not so much about, like, obsession of darkness or death. It's more like an embracing of, like, the odd aspects of life, but not odd, the more unsightly and things that you try to avoid examining. Goth culture is like, no, let's talk about these things, and let's like appreciate them as a part of the whole life experience. That's what I've experienced. And so I go to these like goth nights, right? These dances, and the people there are very welcoming. They're like, "Hey, how's it going? What's up? How you doing? Want to dance?" And I'm like, "Wow, you guys are like not vampires at all, but a lot of them are dressed like vampires, but they're very nice. I guess you got plenty of stories where they got vampires that are friendly, but they're not like standoffish or like trying to put up some ghoulish type of mentality. They're friendly, and they are welcoming into the community of goth. And so I felt like welcome when I go to those events. That's why I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this scene. I like this scene. This is a nice scene. And so would I consider myself a goth person? No, because maybe I am. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's like the philosophy of goth culture. It's kind of like the embracing of the disturbing, and like forming community out of that. And, which I find, I guess I'm just drawn to that. I guess that's just how I'm wired. Because I think it's also like a wiring thing. It's kind of like, some people are just predisposed, no. Some people are just like wired in their mind to like certain things. Right? And everybody has favorites, and they have various interests. Why do you like the things that you like? Why you're interested in the things that you like? Maybe somebody, it could be many reasons, but I think it also large part is just like some people are just drawn to certain things. Not everybody was drawn to like a lot of the art that I showed. Predisposed. Thanks, J-Man. I mentioned earlier the stream. I don't know if you were here, but I got my COVID and flu vaccine, so that makes me kind of groggy. So I'm not quick to think. Yeah, predisposed. And then Danielle, David also talks to the posed. Yeah. Thanks, y'all. But yeah, I do like gothic, and I also think like when you say goth, it means there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. We're talking like the 1980s and the 1990s scene where there was that new wave thing and a lot of new wave music from Europe. That's where kind of like the whole goth culture scene started. But it takes from much older things like, you know, gothic horror, like Edgar Allan Poe, and you know, some people, you know, stuff like Edgar Allan Poe and Frankenstein, they are like also the birthplaces of traditional horror too. Absolutely. But I think traditional horror has kind of veered off into something else. I'm not sure if horror nowadays, like movies like Saw, for instance, have really much to do with, you know, that kind of old school horror. But I would say like Goth still kind of harkens back to that. Yeah. But it also, you know, it's also Goth culture also embraces horror movies in general. Like I go to those Goth nights and I see all those old school horror films being projected on screen. So it has that too. It's a lot to it. I just wanted to share that. But that's just me, right? Maybe you're somebody who's watching and or who will watch later on, and you're a goth, and if you want to add something, that's fine. You know, because I would, like I said before, I wouldn't consider myself goth. So if somebody who considers themselves might have a lot more to say about it. But that's my experience. But I think it's all good. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because we're close to Halloween. Just trying to match getting to the holiday spirit. But I do like those kinds of images. Cool. Okay, so if there's no comments, I guess we've been a little over an hour. We will go ahead and close the live stream. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Thanks for watching. It was fun to talk about, you know, interests that you may not know about me, and kind of like talk about that on a philosophical level. And next week, apparently, I'm going to be having another debate with. His name is Ishmael. I forgot his last name. I'm very bad with names. Or it might just be the vaccine that's fucking with my mind. But Ishmael, we debated about jealousy and the ethical slut, that book. And that was fun. We're gonna like do another debate this weekend about critical thinking. So if you're interested in that, that's next live stream. But until that time comes, I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.